Josh and Frankie.
What a couple of dumb shits.
Hello, primates! You found Primus Tracks. Congratulations! Hey, you know you can find us in other places too. At Primus Tracks on Instagram and Threads. There's a wonderful Facebook page. PrimusTracksPod@gmail.com is the email address if you have a question for Tim Soya. And why wouldn't you? The man is an oracle. 337-514-7692. Leave a voicemail or a text. I am Josh. I am joined by a man who knows just about everything there is to know about the topic of this podcast, and he is once again bringing a live show to the table that is going to just tickle your ears and your brain, and you're going to get this dopamine, serotonin rush, and it's going to be one of those days. So relax. If you're at work, you might want to take a sick day. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Frankie Berestein.
Josh, you're going to kill me, but I just remembered that I do have a piece of miscellaneous debris.
Let's start there. Let's go with miscellaneous debris. Why not?
Miscellaneous debris. I would like to extend my gratitude to Joe Power, who sent me a message on Instagram to identify the source where I heard Les describing his attendance to Wembley for the Freddie Mercury tribute concert in 1992.
Yes.
I knew Les had mentioned that, yes, but I couldn't put my finger on where and when he mentioned it. So it turns out I was listening to a show by Les Claypool and the Rat Brigade. I was streaming that concert, and that's where Les mentions his attendance to the show prior to performing Another One Bites the Dust in a medley with Wynona's Big Brown Beaver. This is Gathering of the Vibes 2000. So I was listening to the show as background, and my mind probably registered that fact, but then I totally forgot about the show. So thank you very much, Joe, for identifying this concert as the source of Les describing his attendance to that concert.
That's from a couple episodes ago where Frankie mentioned that, so thanks for that.
Thanks for picking that up.
We also need to solve the mystery of how Les got in, whether it was Geddy Lee or the machinations of David Lefkowitz, who we're going to talk to in a couple of weeks. So let's get the whole story. Speaking of live shows, I should probably tell everybody what we're doing today. We are going to do some LSD today. It is our next live show dissection, and today we are talking about Bonnaroo 2008. Am I correct with that year, Frankie?
Yes, but you have to do this the Les voice.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me do that right.
Yeah.
Bonnaroo. That's 60,000 people screaming. And because it's Les, he has to milk it, so he gives another Bonnaroo. It's one of my favorite things. Every time he plays the Roo, he has to do that. Let's hear your Bonnaroo, Frankie.
Bonnaroo.
Wow. It's like a Viking horn. Boy, that shakes you down under. My goodness. You just blew out somebody's subwoofer. Nice work. We're going to talk about Bonnaroo 2008, a legendary show to dissect. Before we do that,
legendary show.
That's why they're called LSDs. So before we do that, I do want to recognize an entrant into the Punch Bowl who messaged me a 5-star review. If you want admission into the hallowed halls of the Punch Bowl, all you have to do is leave a 5-star review, say on Apple Podcast. You could message it to us or tag us in a post on Instagram. You could leave it at the Facebook page.
Bag it, sell it to the butcher at the store.
You can do all those things. Absolutely. The butcher will go, what the hell is this? 5-star review. Who the hell's Frankie? But you, by doing so, of course, you are showing your appreciation for us, and we'll show our appreciation for you for reading your 5-star review right here. Frankie, you're going to love this one. This comes from Jordan Kahn, who says,
okay,
it's a whamola of a podcast. I'm no Johnny-come-lately to the world of Les Claypool. It began in the early 90s when I was an angry young man attending UC Berkeley and living near Barrington Hall. I've been fortunate to see great Primus shows since then, including Lollapalooza and the Davis Fromage show a decade later. Now, I'm long in the tooth and still a big fan. I saw Tribute to Kings 3 times and found this podcast brushing up for those shows. It grabbed me by the shorty hairs, and I've heard damn near every one. Josh's lyrical interpretation and Frankie's live show analysis are more than my mind can comprehend. And when Soya gives his anecdotes, well, my mouth starts watering hard. It's damn good to be alive with this podcast. Its insight and humor are the things that make you happy, the things that make you smile. This trip we're taking has only just begun, with masterpieces to be tracked. Oysterhead should get the full treatment with tracks dissected in terms of Les versus Trey. As a fish head, one of my best concerts was Laguna Seca days where Sausage played and then Les jammed You Enjoy Myself. I'm grateful to have seen Oysterhead and highly recommend Tweakers from February 15th, 2020. I'm most looking forward to your tracking Purple Onion, if you hadn't already guessed. Frog Brigade has been one of my favorites since the first show. I'll soon see my 5th Animals performance. To get myself psyched, I'll keep enjoying this podcast that deepens my appreciation of all things Claypool. Primus Tracks, Shine On You Crazy Diamond. That's Jordan Kahn.
What a review. That was mind-blowing. That was insane. How many references were packed there? 100?
Easily into double digits. I mean, I lost count at about 12 the first time I read through it.
That was amazing.
That is a jewel in the crown of 5-star reviews. He tucked as many Purple Onion lyrical references as one could into a 5-star review. So gold star for you, Jordan Kahn. Beautiful.
Poetry.
Gotta send that guy some stickers. That was a lot of fun to read. As if we couldn't get any higher because we're about to talk about Bonnaroo 2008. Frankie, what are we about to experience?
First, let's check some statistics. Date, June 13, 2008. Bonnaroo Festival, Manchester, Tennessee, United States. We know that Les had a record of performing at every single Bonnaroo, right?
As far as I know.
It is my understanding that he was requested to perform at the festival as usual, and he put together an improvised ensemble. I mean, it's labeled Les Claypool's Fancy Band, but it's not the same configuration as the Fancy Band that he used for the tour of the Wales and Woe album. So we're looking at a unique lineup that was only used for this performance. This is a total one-off. It's akin to the Rat Brigade, for instance, or the Les Claypool Super Jam, which also took place at Bonnaroo. So I would guess that a combination of factors like the setlist, the musical cohesion, and the uniqueness of the lineup makes, all of those things combined to make this a legendary performance. I would guess that Les put together the musicians that were available, right?
Who else would do it but Les Claypool, especially when you hear these names?
So we have a lineup consisting, of course, of Les Claypool. We got MIRV on guitar, Pualo Baldi on drums, and Sam Bass on cello.
What a foursome.
It's a very interesting lineup. Who knows how long they rehearsed, and who knows how much jamming they went through in order to reach this level of musical chemistry. But what they were doing on stage that day was just absolutely epic. Each band member had a chance to shine throughout the repertoire, and they were locked into some really amazing grooves throughout the tracks. Sam Bass in particular, I think, is one of the highlights. His playing is really impressive on this concert. I think Fancy is in the same league as Frog Brigade in the sense that Les demanded the very best of his players, and he pushed them to play in a way that maybe they didn't know they could prior to joining the band. So what you hear Sam Bass doing here is not only incredibly well accomplished from a technical standpoint, but it serves each song really well. I wouldn't say that at any point during the show there is random noodling. I think everything they are doing has a cadence and a rhythm to it that is serving the song a purpose. Of course, they are jamming. Of course, they are stretching out the songs, but they are doing it in a way that, I mean, I don't know if I make myself clear by saying that there's some sort of narrative in the jamming.
Wow. We're going to have to experience that for ourselves.
We have an incredible song selection: Rumble of the Diesel, Duchess and the Proverbial Mind's Breath, David McAllister 1, Long in the Tooth, Hendershot, Precipitation, Wamola, Of Wales and Woe, Electric Funeral, One Better, and This Diner. Fun fact, Bonnaroo put out a compilation on DVD called Bonnaroo 2008. It came out 2 years later in 2010, and it includes the stellar performance of One Better.
That rings a bell because I do remember hearing the cut from the DVD and really enjoying it because, of course, the audio is of superior quality.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. And what a track list. We have Of Wales and Woe represented, Purple Onion quite thoroughly, and a couple Holy Mackerel tracks, a Primus track, a Black Sabbath cover of all things. What a great set list we have here.
Yeah.
And as we know, Les will throw these bands together and they'll rehearse a bit, but a lot of it is flying by the seat of one's pants, it seems. At this point, in 2008, Sam Bass had been around a bit. Pualo Baldi was a mainstay behind the kit even in 2008. That's 15 years ago now, and is still manning the drums for Les's various bands. And MIRV's the king. And as we know, Les has said MIRV is one of his absolute, if not the favorite guitarist to play with. Yeah. Of all the fantastic, incredible, superlative guitarists he gets to play with, he always comes back around to MIRV. And I think we're probably going to see why in some of these cuts.
I think this concert is the best showcase of MIRV and Sam Bass. Okay. It is just incredible. Now, another thing that I want to point out is the stage setup. They had some banners at the back with the Wales and Woe artwork and the fancy DVD artwork. Very cool combination. It made the stage look really nice.
And of course, you can see this footage on YouTube. There is a playlist called Les Claypool Bonnaroo 2008.
Although it is incomplete.
Oh, it's incomplete. Okay, as I scroll through. Okay, there are a couple tracks missing.
Another thing that I want to point out is that Les was pretty heavy on the masks during this performance. He had the Clockwork Orange one, he had the pig mask, and he had the Elvis Presley one. I want to share with you a review from Bonnaroo Chris, who maintains a blog where he blogs about his Bonnaroo yearly attendances.
Oh, yes, please.
And of course, he has an entry for June 13, 2008, which reads Bonnaroo 2008 Friday. So he goes over the temperature that day, the camping conditions, the food, and of course, the music. And when he reaches Les Claypool, he said the following. We went in after 4 p.m. to catch Les Claypool. He has played every single Bonnaroo to date. He was wearing a pig mask. His music is weird. I just don't get it. Period.
That was it?
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Bonnaroo Chris, for confirming what we already knew. Outstanding. Great review from Bonnaroo Chris. Now, for those of us who are fans of Les Claypool's music, I will say I have listened and or watched portions of this performance a few times over the years, and it certainly has grabbed me. Frankie, you've discussed in great detail what makes it worth an LSD. So do you want to get into it?
Sure. Let's go over some of the song selections. So, as you know, the show kickstarted with Rumble of the Diesel. Let's hear the first few seconds of Rumble of the Diesel just to set the mood in terms of the sound and the vibe of this show.
And of course he's wearing the mask and making that face, so you can just get creeped out even more. I'm going to pause it there because that's right around the time that Bonnaroo Chris left.
Probably. Yeah, he had enough. He had enough by then.
So they kickstart Rumble of the Diesel, and it looks like we're going to hear from MIRV. You give MIRV that space, he's going to fill it with brilliance.
Exactly.
And that guitar tone is fantastic. It looks like he's playing a white Strat, I think, but it's...
Yes, he is. Tell. And he has a guitar pick on his forehead. Anytime
I see a link to the videos for this performance, it's always the picture of MIRV with the guitar pick on his forehead, leaning into the microphone. That's always that still.
Yes.
Burned into my brain now. And Les is on his 4-string, and I think that's the replica Carl Thompson by 2008 because he didn't want to take the original on the road anymore. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. So we've got these two brilliant players out front. Sam Bass in the video is fairly towards the front as well, to Les's right.
With a beautiful golden cello.
Yes. And of course he's seated, which... you'd think would go against the vibe of the music that Les usually makes, but it works.
I showed my girlfriend some videos of this performance, and she pointed out that his chair looks extremely uncomfortable. And I told her, well, that's part of the whole sacrifice of playing in this band. I
think it'd be very difficult to play cello while sitting back in a lazy boy recliner. So, you basically,
perhaps
you're either sitting on a bar stool or a folding chair. Yeah, there's no luxuries. Let's hear what Les has to say about halfway through this track. That's pretty indicative of a Les Claypool bass solo. Sounds great. By the way, the video footage, quality not altogether fantastic. However, you can tell that the space for the audience is absolutely jam-packed. So he brought him in for this performance. High energy Rumble of the Diesel to kick things off.
We go into Duchess and the Proverbial Mind's Breath.
Of course, it's a Primus tune, but this is one that Les has brought into some of his solo projects over the years.
Yes, and every time Duchess is on the set list, what we look forward to the most, of course, is a drum bridge, right?
That's right. The freak out in the middle.
So let's see what Pualo did with Duchess.
That's nice.
I wanted to point out before you played it how intimidating it must be, right, to approach this track from the perspective of a drummer. And that is something that Pualo actually pointed out to me in one of our conversations when I met him. Because I mentioned that there were a few occasions with the fancy band where he had to do Thai noodles. And he told me that brain tracks are notoriously difficult. So, of course, he doesn't try to play them note by note. He doesn't memorize what Brain did. He approaches them from his own perspective.
I think you'd break your arm if you tried to emulate Brain, wouldn't you? Man, that guy hits so hard. And I noticed that in the solo, too. He wasn't trying to blow the house down, I don't think. But he was certainly giving us some nice tastes there. And it's really funny to see this 15-year-old video because Pualo is almost unrecognizable. He looks so different between then and now.
Totally.
You know? That's just how it goes, man. You know, you get the glasses, you grow the beard, you start wearing a hat, you look like...
You settle down.
You become decrepit, you eventually pass away alone, turn to dust. But enough of that. Next we have good old David McAllister. And by the way...
I love what Sam is doing here.
I have the honor of going between the YouTube cuts and the recording over at Toasterland. So once again, you get to hear lots of clicking as I go between them. Thanks for that, Frankie, by the way.
No problem.
This one, by the way, a highlight of the recent Frog Brigade tour in the summer of 23 here. So let's see how it sounded with this unique lineup. Sam gets to wail, man.
He's really serving the track, right?
Yeah, I like that sound over the other three. That's neat.
It's so in tune with what they are playing, but at the same time, it's hinting at what the Fungi band would sound like, right?
Yeah, Sam being an integral part of the Fungi band experience for certain. So it was a bit different in that regard with this performance, but it's so, it's so high energy. And I tend to think of the Fungi band, I saw them and they were great, but I tend to think of them as more low key and a little more slow moving, not as upbeat as some of these tunes like McAllister, even though they're playing them. But exactly. It's, this, I think he's really stepping up. I mean, when MIRV's on stage, I guess everybody has to. Hearing
these songs again, back to back with you right now, I would venture to say that Sam Bass is definitely the highlight of the show.
So far.
Yes.
We have a long way to go.
He's doing some really amazing things for the songs. I love his playing.
He certainly adds a different dimension, and that's what's so great when as Les has done over the years, brought in so many different people to offer their interpretations and their takes on them. You get a much more broad palette for what the song can be. It's not confined to the studio recording. And I think that's always been a strength of Les and Primus and all those projects. And that's what makes going to the live show so fun. I don't think they're ever all the same. Speaking of never all the same, this next track is Long in the Tooth with MIRV.
Long in the Tooth like you've never heard it before.
Time code on YouTube for this Long in the Tooth highlight is indeed 420. There's the old MIRV singing and playing. I should be sharing my screen with the video, but I'm not. Sorry, Frankie. But during that part where MIRV is soloing, there's an over-the-shoulder camera shot of him, and you can see a dump truck driving by in the background. That caught my eye.
Yeah.
So cool to hear MIRV on this track and doing something kind of kooky, as he is wont to do from time to time. A lot of open space in these tracks, too. I think with the recent Frog Brigade tour with 5 guys on stage, and the original incarnation of the Frog Brigade, which had 6, they were taking up a lot of space. So there's a little bit more air, and it really gives these guys room to stretch out and do some things. Not to say they're more confined when there's more guys on, but there's just more sonic space to play with. Hendershot.
Let's go surfing.
Finally.
That's Hendershot. Sitting on a blanket in the safe box is a man selling handbags he gets from Hendershot. But he doesn't call him Hendershot. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. MIRV Gerdenstein.
How amazing is that?
That right there is worth the price of the entire Bonnaroo ticket. That's it's MIRV playing surf. He was born to do it, it seems. That is his wheelhouse, and that is wonderful.
I love when MIRV plays his surf stuff. It's just incredible.
But it looks like we're going to get another solo out of this from Sam Bass. Surf cello.
Bass.
There's a reason he's playing a gold cello. He's an alchemist. Wow.
Yes.
There was a little Phrygian to that Middle Eastern sounding tinge,
yes,
I think.
Exactly.
And the tone on that cello was great for that solo. And to play it in that mode over that stop-start version of things, which they'll do with Hendershot from time to time, and I think they did it on the past tour as well, that really comes together nicely. And I see what you're saying now, Frankie. I know these are moments that you've cherry-picked, but this is not meandering noodling. This is the stuff, man. This is the choice portion.
Yes, because they have a chance to shine, but they pepper. No, they don't overpower or overstay.
Yeah.
They just pepper.
Yep, they're moving it right along. They just pepper. Just the right amount. Just the right amount of turns on the grinder, on the mill. Never one too many. They're just so good that way. So after Hendershot, they doubled down on the holy mackerel with everybody's favorite, Precipitation.
And we've already sampled Precipitation on the Precipitation episode because MIRV goes into 50 cal.
Are we going to get a reprise of that?
No, we're going to check a different part.
I will allow it. That's a cello. He's making some noise, man. That is great.
Insane, right?
Yeah, love the effects he's got on there. He's certainly got that compressed mid-range sound. He's using it to his advantage. And of course, the Precipitation groove, we talked about it on the Holy Mac record, which we just finished. Precipitation and tunes like Highball with the Devil with Adam Gates, where it's just, you're just playing this ballsy drum beat. Pualo just gets to groove on that for a long time. And like you said, he's got to keep his concentration. But it just lets you shake. It just lets you bop along in the audience, too. A lot of heads bopping on that one in the audience footage. We're back to Toasterland for some noise. What? Oh, there really is a track that says noise.
Yes, so this is a preamble to the Wamola Jam. I wanted to sample it because Pualo is doing some crazy stuff here.
Let's hear some noise. Sounds pretty good to me. I mean,
so all that feedback and all that noise was an excuse for Pualo to go nuts.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of meandering there, but there's a purpose for it because Paulo's letting loose.
Yes,
showing what he can do. Very nice. Yes. And that leads into the Drums and Wamola Jam. All right, let's see what they're doing.
Which is a rather short one, but it's cool and. It was an excuse for Les to wear the monkey mask.
This is one of the shortest drum and Wamola tracks, as far as live performances go, that I've ever seen. You're absolutely right. It's 3 minutes and 7 seconds. That is unheard of. That was a cool slowdown.
Cool interlude, right? I would venture to say that Wamola serves as a palate cleanser on this set. You need a break, right?
You got to have your funky jammy interlude because we're going to go right back into Les Claypool land with Of Wales and Woe. Frankie's notes here are piquing my interest because we're going to hear some bass thumping and it's MIRV, so you got to hear the saw.
The thumping and the plucking part is it's my favorite portion of Wales and Woe, both on the studio track and in the live renditions, because, I mean, it's just addictive. I just love that thing that Les does.
He's the most interesting Bob Cox you're ever have to meet. Ladies and gentlemen, Garbage Steve.
I gotta pause it here because at this point in the video, if you haven't seen it, Les is in the Elvis mask now. We should have been doing a mask report for each one of these tunes. But Les is in the Elvis mask now. I just forgot how wild his thumb is as he's thumping away on this one. And MIRV, he introduces MIRV, who's just standing there staring at Les. Much like on the Holy Mac tour, as Soya told us, I think MIRV's about to milk it. So let's see what happens. MIRV holds up the saw for the audience.
I hope you don't mind. This is my grandpa's saw. And the saw is family.
MIRV also seats himself in a folding chair.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Garbage Sting!
That's my favorite Wales and Woe ever.
Did you know that the version on YouTube is censored?
I did not. This looks like it was broadcast on Fuse, which was an American cable television channel. But what was censored?
Yes. To hear the full uncensored MIRV introduction that Les said, please go over to Toaster, play Wales and Woe, and fast forward to 5 minutes with 20 seconds on the track.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've unleashed bits and pieces of the Gerbenstein. But right now, the full erection that is MIRV Gerbenstein
That's why.
is about to throb into your face.
And that's why.
I give you
Yeah.
I want to play it again because of the way the crowd reacts to the throb in your face.
right now, the full erection that is MIRV Gerbenstein is about to throb into your face.
That crowd reaction is excellent. Ugh! Well, that tracks now because while MIRV on the YouTube recording that has video, while MIRV was playing the saw, most of the audience was watching him closely, but there are these two young women on the rail, and they were not having it. They were turned towards each other, and they had their arms up, resting their heads on their arms, and essentially shielding themselves from MIRV, I think. Maybe it wasn't consensual throbbing. Maybe that's why. I haven't heard too many live cuts of Wales and Woe, but that one's number one for me now.
A cover, Electric Funeral, which Les also did with the Fungi Band, and which he also did with Primus. I don't know if I've mentioned this before. I got to experience Electric Funeral with Primus during my first shows. So something really cool about this cover is that, well, first of all, it's Black Sabbath. I think Les is doing quite a bit of justice to the track. It sounds really heavy. The bass is incredible. The breakdown is what I always look forward to the most because it's just so cool. And it's also pretty vocally demanding, but I think Les manages to pull it off.
Yeah, Electric Funeral. So you must have got it in 2013, correct?
I got it in 2013, yes.
Okay, because they had played it their 2-night New Year's Eve run, 2012, on the 30th and 31st.
Some of those songs carried over to 2013, like Frankenstein and Electric Funeral.
Right. This one was the only track, I think, that was repeated both nights. So I got it on the 30th of 2012 with Primus. It's always interesting when a cover comes around again after a few years away because it must have tickled his fancy and he thought, well, let's pull that one out. Electric Funeral, great Sabbath song, and welcome into a Les Claypool set. I have to say right now, I do not approve of the envelope filter on that riff. I think Electric Funeral is a really common cover tune for guys that want to cover Sabbath, because the riff is not incredibly difficult. It's one of the first ones a lot of people learn to play, but it's just so catchy.
But Les makes it sound so good.
And that's the magic of Sabbath, is they take something that sounds so simple, and in many cases it is, but they make something really great out of it. The harmonizing between Iommi and Geezer Butler on this track, on the original recording, is outstanding. And so to hear Les do that with MIRV, Sam Bass on cello as well, is really cool. But let's forward to the breakdown, because that is where the excitement really takes off. There's something bizarre about seeing him in the Elvis mask doing that electric field roll. It's unnerving, but it's great. I think he did really well with that vocal line.
Yes, it sounds great.
It's a tough one. Oh my goodness. Look
one
at these
better.
time
Jeez
codes.
Louise. One better. Okay. So a couple of things that I want to point out before we go into the samples of One Better. First of all, I'm speaking from a completely personal point of view. I think this is the performance of One Better. This is the best One Better that Les has ever done. I don't see how this could ever be topped. This lineup, the jams they go into, the sound, the vibe. I mean, it's just so perfect. They have so much to be proud of with this performance. The sound, the rhythm, the cadence, everything is absolutely incredible. That's not to cast shade on other versions, because the Frog Brigade did some stellar versions in this last run. But I mean, this performance in particular is mesmerizing. It's 9 minutes long, but every single time I watch the video, I can't take my eyes off the screen.
Wow.
That's how compelling it is. It's also notable because it's divided in several sections. So we have the introduction, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, a breakdown, a cello section for Sam Bass, which reaches a really, really cathartic and really interesting section where he's kind of descending on the notes. It's a very, very dramatic effect. Then Les does a bass attack to announce that he wants the track to go into a different section, and that serves as a segue for the MIRV guitar solo, which goes on for quite a bit. Then Les calls MIRV's attention with his bass, and they lock into a guitar and bass duel. Then Les returns for some bass time solo spot. He goes into glide. Then we have an emergency Master of Puppets, the final chorus, and the extremely cathartic conclusion. So let's sample some sections, Josh.
Wow. And this one we're going to be hearing from the YouTube version, which it looks like contains the footage from the DVD.
Yes.
Let's go for it. Breakdown time. Oh, interesting. Sam approximating what he's not even approximating what Skerritt does on that track. He's doing what Skerritt does on that track.
Yes.
That's awesome. That is a great recreation. Speaking of Sam, let's go to his cello spot here. There's the call down, by the way. So here's
There's
a
the
shift.
call down, yes. That is a really funny way to transition by just nailing that chord over and over. Very bonehead, but it sounds really cool. So then MIRV gets his solo, but I want to hear this lockdown that you described. Yes, the duel.
Here comes Glide. I see why it's an emergency puppets now, because I don't know if he messed up or what, and then just went into it. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's a good way to recover. Man. This is a very highly spirited performance of One Better. And now I want to hear him bring it home.
Was that a tour de force or what?
Yes. They took us places in that rendition of One Better. Now, of course...
And Paolo is a monster on this show.
Oh, he brought it home there, especially in that last moment, but he's got moments all throughout. And, of course, we're playing portions and then laughing and talking about it. I think you need the whole 9+ minutes as a singular entity to really let it sink in. So I highly recommend that you go out and do that right now. Don't listen to our highlights of Dee's Diner.
Let that sink in. It's waiting at the door. Sorry.
Oh, no.
I had to do it.
Oh,
had to do it.
Oh, no. Not that guy. So they give us the one better that Frankie calls the one better. But no Les Claypool solo show, especially from the aughts, is complete without Dee's Diner.
Who wants to go down to Dee's?
I do. I think we talked about this, though. The banter, it's scripted, but the banter between Les and Sean on this last
It's
tour,
hilarious.
when they're playing D's,
It's
is
brilliant.
wonderful. I love it. I love that they're playing with it. You know, they're being silly and funny with it. It is repetitive, so why not take it somewhere?
But it doesn't get old because Dee's Diner has become semi-rare.
That's true. It really hasn't been played a lot, especially since the aughts, right?
Yes, and I would venture to speculate that Les must be getting accustomed to that 6-string pachyderm.
Yeah, this seems like Dee's Diner was his test song for that new fretless 6-packy. And I think it passed the test. But they do some really cool stuff with Dee's now that I don't think they did 15 years ago. So this will be a nice transportation.
Yes,
What?
and Seth actually had a very, very interesting theory that resonated with me. That maybe Les went all out with the Walnut tracks on the Tribute to Kings tour because he's retiring all Carl Thompson basses from rotation. And he's going to be full pachyderm from now on.
That would be the next one, is a fretted 6 pachyderm, so that all of those precious instruments can stay home. As he did say that too. They're getting up there in years. They have a lot of sentimental value as well as
they are relics.
Monetary value. Yeah, he wants to keep them safe at home where they're not getting knocked around. But let's go back in time a bit to Dee's Diner circa 2008. We'll start with Sam. Whatever Sam's doing there, it fits.
It does. Like everything he did throughout the show.
I can see why he is your MVP, most valuable player, I guess, on the stage this night. He certainly is whipping some things out here. Now, this next time code, this is on Toasterland, by the way, for those of you that want to listen along. This time code is 3 minutes and 50 seconds, and Frankie's note simply says, me. I think I know what we're in store for. What's great about that is the crowd's into it with the I do and that repetition that he just flips on.
And Les goes all out on the bass.
And then at about 4 minutes and 30 seconds, we have a jazzy part. Now, this is something they brought back for the Frog Tour.
Yes. just like that, a legendary show is over.
What a set. He seems to bring it for Bonnaroo on a lot of these recordings.
Yeah.
Once again, it's a great showcase for all four musicians on stage for a band that we don't know the backstory, but it seems like Les threw it together and they had a little time.
Haphazardly.
Quite possibly. They had a little time to get their stuff straight, but all seasoned musicians who know how to listen to each other, know how to take their cues, and off they went with these tunes as their structure. So I think I see why this deserved a dissection, Frankie. There are so many moments that are worth treasuring and listening to. So much like Seahawks and Woodstock 94, this Bonnaroo 2008 performance has plenty of little nuggets to savor, but I think the whole thing, taken as one, is worth it. It's worth everybody's time to check out. So if you haven't heard it yet, Bonnaroo 2008, you can find it on Toasterland. You can also find most of the music from the show with video on YouTube. Thanks, Frankie.
You're welcome, Josh.
My appreciation for Dee's Diner grows by the day. I don't know how much, but it's growing.
There are some really cool renditions out there.
Yeah.
It's a great song.
When they played it on the tour this past summer, too, they played it at the stop I attended, and I actually enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That does it for us. We have one more bit of business. It is near the end of the month here, so we need to thank our patrons. If you want to know more about supporting the podcast and get all kinds of wacky bonus content that you never thought was possible, head on
Super
over to...
kawaii stuff.
Yeah, that stuff. Head on over to patreon.com/Primus Tracks. Check out all the tiers and all the extra content. And we appreciate every single one of our patrons. And we're going to thank them now. Jordan Kahn. Hey, we read his 5-star review. Jordan also joined the Patreon. Thank you, Jordan. We have Matt Cratchley. Hopefully I'm not screwing up your name, Matt. I apologize. Please let me know if I mispronounce any of your names. I will get it right next time. We also have Silly Froghead for Life, which is a wonderful name. Bo Campbell. Less is more is the name on there, but that's Steven. Thanks, Steven. Eric in Australia. Nice to see you again, Eric. John Gatwood. Tamby Meatfoot, a.k.a. TJ, as you remember, Frankie.
Yep.
Thanks to Brooks. Thanks to Ryan Reskin. Thanks to Joseph Pebbler and Key Dog and Christian Rogers, Mike Coleman, Bradley Dunn, Nick in the Netherlands. Haven't heard from Nick in a while. Hopefully he's still in the Netherlands.
Yeah, Nick, where are you?
Come on down. We also want to thank Travis in Alaska, number 1 or 2, I don't know which, Joseph Shack, Stephanie Wolfgang King, Alex Dalasio, Carl Reinsch, Travis in Alaska again, Mike Chillian, Sarah Markham, Frank Pomus, Jesse Calton. Jesse's also going to be at the Minus Linus show, by the way, with Kehoe and Tim Alexander and Bobby Vega. We also want to thank Porter Kropf. We got to meet Porter at the Portland show this summer. He's a cool kid. Thanks to Anthony Del Preet and Frankie's favorite, The Cretin. Also, thanks
The Cretin.
There it is. Thanks to John Shreve and Johnny Perona, Mr. Funknificent, Juhani Coho, Stephen Stang, Brian Kielb, Chris, Simon Altman, also in Australia, Mike Tuckerman, Sculligan Val, Chris Gentile, Keith Thompson. Thanks to Kevin Lalowski, also got to see him in Portland, and Amber Porter, and El Patron Numero Uno, Carlos Arizmendi. Thank you all so much for your support. If you want to hear your name in this space, patreon.com/Primus Tracks. Thank you, Primatrons. Thank you, Primates. Thank you, Frankie. We'll see you next time. We're going to ask Soya. Later days.
Willie Mays.
Bonnaroo.